Okay, hello everyone. I am Marco, but you can call me Marco, and let's get reading. So today I am doing the BookTube Newbie tag. However, I'm not exactly doing the BookTube Newbie tag because I'm doing my own version, which is the comic book edition. I've actually posted a few videos already on this channel, and I realized I want to become a more comics and manga focused channel instead of a more novels and nonfiction book channel. I still read novels and nonfiction, but I just want my focus to be more on comics and graphic novels because that's what I've been reading more recently. So question 1, why did you start this channel? This actually isn't my first YouTube channel. I had my first YouTube channel when I was in high school, around 16 years old. I'm 23 years old now. But I did have another BookTube channel when I was like 16 years old, and I had it until I was like 20 years old. I'm 23 now, like I've mentioned before. I personally wasn't really happy with that channel. I feel like I was definitely a beginner, and that's all I'll say on that, because I feel like a lot of those videos weren't that great because of the fact that I was a beginner. And now that I have more experience with the BookTube channel or with YouTube in general, I feel like I'll be a lot more happier with the channel. Again, like I mentioned, this isn't my first YouTube channel. I also have a podcast / YouTube channel with my friend Mao. It's called the Cartoon Soup Podcast. You should check it out. We talk about animation and cartoons. We're recently doing all of the Batman animated movies. Well, not all of them, but the majority of the Batman animated movies. But I just really love doing YouTube. I just think it's really fun. It's a really great creative outlet. So I decided, hey, I kind of miss talking about books, so I want to talk about books again. That's basically why I started this channel. I just love yapping. I just love talking about media. Even though I'm not that good at it, I really do enjoy just discussing my thoughts on things, and that's why I started this channel. So the next question is, what fun and unique things can you bring to BookTube? And honestly, I think what I can bring to BookTube is the fact that I talk about comics and manga. I feel like there aren't that many people who talk about graphic novels at all. The only really popular graphic novel I see in the BookTube space is that comic book Saga. That comic is so popular on BookTube for some reason. I don't know why. I've never read it. I'm sure it's worth the hype. But I want to talk about other comics other than Saga. And yeah, that's basically what I can bring to BookTube. I feel like there aren't enough comic-focused channels, and I really want to be one. So the next question is, what are you most excited about this channel? So I do have a few video ideas, but I just really love doing like reading vlogs, so I'm really excited to do those again. I personally find them so easy to do, and I find them just like an ease to edit and talk about, so I really am excited to do those types of videos again. I didn't do many on my old BookTube channel, but I do remember really enjoying doing them. So the next question is, why do I love reading? I personally just really love stories. I know there's this discussion about like books being escapism. I don't read because of escapism. I mean, part of the reason I read is because of escapism, but it's not the main focus. I just really love storytelling as a format, and I think stories are so important, and I just find stories so valuable. And I'm sure like people who say they read for escapism also enjoy that, but I just personally feel like that's my main focus of why I read. There's something so fascinating about reading about a different world that really makes me excited. So that's personally why I read. I just love like learning about characters and all that kind of crap. So that's personally why I really enjoy reading. I personally feel like I'm only just getting back into reading. So I kind of stopped reading when I was around, I would say 20 years old. And then I stopped reading for like a year, or I was always going on and off with books for about like a year. And I've only just gone back into consistently reading recently. And even though I am consistently reading a bit more, I personally feel like I'm not being consistent enough. I feel like I'm just recently falling back in love with reading. So the next question is, what book / series got me into reading? For graphic novels and comics wise, what got me into reading comics wise was the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comic, which is honestly so embarrassing because the Archie comics for Sonic the Hedgehog are so bad. Like, if you've heard about that series, I'm sure you know how bad it is, but that's personally what got me into reading when I was a child, comics wise. I also really enjoyed the Pokemon Adventures manga. I never read that far into it, but I do remember really enjoying it. So I mostly read comics from the library because comics are expensive and I couldn't afford comics at the time because I did not have my own money. As for what got me into reading novels wise, I remember I really enjoyed Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I was in my freshman year of high school when I read that, and that was really a catalyst for me. I honestly don't remember what books got me into reading because I didn't truly get into reading until I was in high school. I honestly have a bad memory when it comes to which books I read that got me into reading at that time. I just remember one day I read one book and then I couldn't stop reading books. So the next question is, what questions do I have for booktubers? And I personally don't really have any questions, so I'm gonna just move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question is, what challenges do you think will be the hardest with starting a BookTube channel? And for me, that's definitely being consistent. Even when I had my old BookTube channel, and even with the podcast that I have currently, I'm really hard at being consistent with posting. I do post videos and content even when no one's watching, because I already posted my first video and like literally got 2 views. It feels kind of lonely when you know that no one's really caring about what you're posting, and because of that, you don't feel as motivated to post anymore. And I feel like that's my main problem currently with posting online. I just feel like no one's listening, no one's watching, so why should I even care about posting? Even though it is fun for me posting, even though no one's watching, at some point it kind of gets to you, you know? So I feel like that will be my biggest hurdle, is feeling motivated to post even when no one is watching. But I do think I can get through that eventually. So the next question is, when did I start reading? And I think I kind of already answered this, but I started reading when I was in middle school, kind of, with comics. However, I truly got into reading when I was 16 or 15 years old. The next question is, where do I read? I mostly read on my bed, which is right here. It's kind of hard to read on my bed. It's kind of uncomfortable at times just because like I sleep here. I do everything on my bed because I only got a desk like last week, but I started reading on my desk recently. I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna show you guys it. My desk is right over there. I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah, I started reading on there a bit. I only got it recently. I also do read in the break room at work. Whenever I'm working, when I'm going on my break or lunch break, I always read there. The next question is, what books do I like to read? And for me personally, I really enjoy sci-fi or middle grade. I also really enjoy like literary fiction, but those are mostly what I read like novels wise. When it comes to comics, I also really do enjoy middle grade or young adult. I'm more broad about what I read when it comes to comics or manga, I guess. Or actually, I'm not sure. The more I think about it, the more I'm not sure. I feel like I'm kind of closed off when it comes to manga. When it comes to manga, I mostly read like slice of life, comedy, romance, sometimes a bit of fantasy, but not really. That's mostly what I read when it comes to manga. Like literally all of the manga I own is basically like romance or slice of life or fantasy. I feel like those are the only 3 types of manga I read. But when it comes to graphic novels, I am a bit more broad. I enjoy like fantasy and a bit more contemporary middle grade stories. What I will also say is I personally don't read a lot of superhero comics. I just feel like superhero comics are kind of all over the place, and like there's so much continuity you have to deal with that I personally don't want to deal with. Like the only superhero comic I own in my collection currently is Superman Smashes the Klan by Jin Yang, who is an amazing author, by the way. He does some amazing graphic novels, and I feel like you should definitely check him out. I just personally don't enjoy superhero comics like that. But yeah, when it comes to graphic novels, I read a lot more contemporary and fantasy stories. I would read romance graphic novels, but I feel like there aren't that many romance graphic novels out there that I actually would enjoy reading. I just feel like there isn't currently a marketplace for romance graphic novels, and because of that, I don't read romance graphic novels. So the next question is to show my book collection / shelf, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so my book collection is kind of a mess. I have books here. This is my TBR. It's a lot. It's double shelf. These are all my novels and some nonfiction books, and these are also some graphic novels. I've read some of these. This pile, I think I've read. This pile is my TBR. That's that shelf. I also have room in the bottom, so that way I can grab more graphic novels when I want to. I have this TBR cart right here. I don't know if that paper is important. I'm going to block that. I have a TBR cart right here of novels. This is my comic shelf. This is basically where all my comics are. And I keep all of my comics and manga in my room. My novels that I've read and nonfiction books I've read are out in the living room. I have a large manga collection. I have basically a full shelf here. And I also have another shelf right next to here of manga. I don't know if you guys can see it that well. But yeah, I have a lot of manga. Honestly, I'm going to be so honest with you guys. I have a buying problem because I haven't read the majority of these, but I do really want to get to them. So I'm going to stop buying manga from now on because of that. So yeah. And then lastly, we have my books I've read. These are all books I've read. This is mostly adult. This is YA, and this is middle grade. I mostly read a lot more middle grade nowadays, but I don't own a lot of my middle grade that I've read. And these are all YA that I read in high school. So, you know, those are pretty old. But yeah, that's basically my shelves. So, yeah, that's basically this video. Those were my shelves. I have a lot of books, honestly, and a lot of them I have not read because I have a buying problem, but I'm going to stop buying books as much. I can't promise I'll stop indefinitely because I know I have a problem and I know that that's not something I can promise to myself, but I will try a bit harder to not buy books. So if you enjoy me talking about comics/manga, be sure to check this channel out. So go ahead and subscribe, I guess. Anyways, that's everything for now, so goodbye.